Uhuru comrades, and welcome to the Burning Spear newspaper's Black August celebration themed You Can't Jail the Revolution, Free 'em All. This event aims to raise up Black August as a widely recognized tradition of the African nation by commemorating past and current political prisoners. I am Soliana Bikel, managing editor of the Burning Spear newspaper, and I'll be your host this evening. I'll be guiding you through our jam-packed program featuring panelists and artists from all over the world. We'll also have a special keynote address from Director Akile Enai, my direct leadership and editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear newspaper. So Black August has been historically the time our movement highlights and celebrates the rich history of African resistance that happened in the month of August. This is also the time where the Burning Spear newspaper, the longest Black Power newspaper in continuous print since 1968, holds its Black August fund drive to support our Mafundi Lake sponsor prisoner program, where we ship the spear for free to more than 700 prisoners across the United States. So throughout this program, we'll be calling on you, our viewers, to donate at burningspear.com/donate to help us continue this important work of the spear. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and please enjoy the show. So before we get started, with the full program, we'll play a quick message from our comrade Bam Bam, who's an organizer with the American Indian Movement from Puerto Rico, and he's based in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. So let's go ahead and play his message.
Uhuru, comrades. Resistance and perseverance. Two words very familiar to us, from the Caribbean to the four corners of Turtle Island and across the globe. Our struggle with colonialism started in 1492. We, the Taino people, do not forget. 1526, the start of the Atlantic slave trade by Portugal, followed by the rest of the Europeans. We do not forgive. On a country built on bones, blood, and sweat of our ancestors, how could we? To all of our warriors and caciques, from Aguaybana to a Gran Maestro Pedro Albizu Campo, who fought fearlessly for our rights and freedom. Not to leave out any of our countless legends and martyrs. Que viva Lolita Lebrón, Feliberto Ojeda, Gracia Oscar López, y todo lo que hoy en día lucha puñeta. Resistance and perseverance. Two words ingrained in our DNA by sheer force. We have survived genocide, assimilation, paper genocide, hurricanes, banking systems, the church, forced sterilization to Law 53. We've been pushed over the edge, and yet we're seen as the enemy of this country. The madness is formless and continues. The bombing continues. The pharmaceutical boom continues. The murder of our people continue. The FBI, CIA continues. The greed continues. The destruction of the Amazon continues. Colonialism continues. Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua are pillars of resistance against imperialism. Resistance and perseverance. Two words very familiar to us. Two words that strike fear in those who oppose us. America died long ago, and what we are dealing with are with the maggots, parasites, and bacteria that feed off the remains of a fantasy in our wounds. Through ceremony, arts, and literature, as our mother Atabey, Earth, we shall heal. Columbus statues, capitalism, and Confederate fantasies like white supremacy will be forgotten and buried. We will continue to live. Que viva Borinquen libre, Uhuru.
Uhuru comrades. So that was Bam Bam kicking us off with his statement of his overview and solidarity. So moving on with the program, we got Comrade Janelle. So Comrade Janelle Owens is a proud member of the African People's Socialist Party in Jamaica. In search of her true African name, Janelle has given herself the aliases Yasante and Yinga. After coming in contact with Amalia Shatella and the Uhuru movement while studying overseas in the US, Janelle gained a new understanding of the world, the colonial mode of production, and her role as an African woman in the overturning of the system. She is a skilled poet, writer, violinist, and singer-songwriter who has devoted her skills to the development of Black revolutionary culture. Janelle is certain that her true name will be revealed as she continues to participate in the making of the African Revolution. So Uhuru, let's go ahead and play some Janelle.
Uhuru Africa. My name is Janelle Owens. You may also know me as Yasante the Poet or Yinga, the violinist, and I'm absolutely honored to be a participant in this historic Black August event and to be a member of the African People's Socialist Party in Jamaica. Now, I'm here to share with you a poem of mine, but before I do that, I'd like to read an excerpt from an essay that I wrote. I wrote this essay right before joining the party in my final year of college. So here it goes. Today's society is largely a colonial manifestation. Colonialism is the foreign domination of a people by an alien group for the purposes of economic exploitation. The colonizer relies on brute force to loot the colonized of their resources and labor. Europeans committed genocide against Africans and indigenous Americans not simply because they were moved by extreme prejudice or even racism. They did this because they were ruthlessly seeking economic gain. The enslaved Africans, along with the land acquired from this assault, constituted the startup capital for capitalism itself. When slavery no longer suited the Europeans due to countless brave and vicious revolts, they updated the system of exploitation to meet their economic needs. George Jackson taught us in Blood in My Eye that we will not succeed until we fully accept the fact that the enemy is aware, determined, disguised, totalitarian, and mercilessly counter-revolutionary. Now, to fight effectively, we must be aware of the fact that the enemy has consolidated, through reformist machination, the greatest community of self-interest that has ever existed. Slavery was colonial violence. The lynching of Africans by ordinary white people was colonial violence. The pipeline of youth from poor black communities into prisons is colonial violence. The murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Mike Brown, Sandra Bland, Susan Bogle, these are all instances of colonial violence. And colonialism was the enemy then. It's still the enemy now. Uhuru. And now, here's my poem. Most of my poems are unnamed. I'll be fixing that soon once I publish my book of African internationalist poems. But here we go. I've heard it been said that the color of my skin is the origin of their hate and the origin of my sin. And all the black people will suffer on earth, a world strewn with prohibitions that we navigate from birth. But I know that when I take my last breath, the work that's begotten will go towards the settler's death, who likens colonialism to natural selection, a constant of life, naturalizing oppression. Often my flesh has sought comfort in this system, and I've had to turn it towards another task. The body doesn't want to lose blood in resistance, but my mind will offer it up without having to ask. Beg the oppressor to save your life, and then you will surely lose it. But live for the sake of revolution, and you'll find that you have abundantly used it. And the line I draw to mark my death underscores freedom and inspires my breath. With a tongue that's determined to articulate escape and paint dawn in the sky so the people awake. I mark my death with a line that's drawn like the rifle Harriet Tubman kept in her palm. I feel her gun in the small of my back, so my feet move forward while my eyes look back. And I hear in my ears the same ones from before who told Garvey, "Go on. I can't turn back anymore. I won't turn back anymore because I know any day my feet will carry me to a brand new place. In the depths of the ocean, among the clouds in the sky, where my ancestors walk, where my ancestors fly. We will arrive there together, comrades, a place we've been before. We'll be alive there together, comrades, a place we've seen before. A liberated Africa, our nation will be restored. Uhuru, vanguard up, solidarity with the African People's Socialist Party, the African Liberation Movement. They can't kill us, they can't stop us now. Uhuru.
Uhuru. So that was Comrade Janelle. Can we please get Comrade Janelle up, please? Uhuru, Janelle, how you doing?
Uhuru Saliana, I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing good. That was such a powerful piece, Comrade. And I gotta say that thank you so much for, sharing your talents with us from all the way from Jamaica. I gotta say, I really love the way your poem, flows and rhymes, not to mention the very, important message that you're sending with those rhymes and flows. So Comrade, you're a poet who's, had her work published and showcased on the Burning Spear newspaper, right? And so I just wanted you to speak on, the role of, independent media like the Burning Spear, in showcasing the works of artists like you, artists that create cultural work that, deals with the Black African working class.
Uhuru, thank you. So first, it's absolutely, every now and then I think about the fact that my work has been published in the Burning Spear newspaper, and I'm like, holy crap, that is actually a really big deal. Because like imagine 100 years from now, my descendants will be able to say, yo, my great granny, her work was in the Burning Spear newspaper, just like how I can say my great grands were Garveyites, they were working with Garvey in the UNIA. And the thing about independent media sources like the Burning Spear newspaper is that it allows us to take control of our own narrative, which is a very important step in revolutionary life, to take charge and take ownership of our ability to define our own history and to define what our trajectory is in this point in time. And the thing is, without the Burning Spear newspaper, without media outlets like this, we would be left with white supremacist narratives that just perpetuate this myth that African people are passive objects of history and that we don't have any influence over our own destiny. But the beautiful thing about the Burning Spear is that, like I said, it's evidence that we're out here struggling against imperialism. It's gonna be evidence in the history books that this is how we accomplished our freedom. This is how we brought ourselves up from the trenches. And it's no little thing. It's no little thing. So I'm absolutely honored to be a part of this convention, to be a part of the Uhuru movement, and to have my work in the Burning Spear. I'm looking forward to writing more for the Burning Spear. And yeah, Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you so much. I couldn't have put it better. I really appreciate you. And, when you said that, it is evidence that is what the Spear is, right? It is a tool. It is evidence of the work that we're doing, the work that we will do, to free ourselves, our political prisoners, all that good stuff. So thank you, Comrade Janelle. Appreciate you. Uhuru. Uhuru. All right, so up next, comrades, we have Lou Carmelo. So Lou Carmelo was born in the periphery of Sao Paulo, Brazil, more specifically in Capão Redondo. He is a songwriter, producer, and singer. His music is known for being, socially oriented, and his songwriting has funk, Afro beats, and hip hop influences. And he sees that the violent nature of racism and capitalism cost the lives of many people, and that music is one of the ways for confronting those painful topics. So can we go ahead and play Lou Carmelo?
I was born in a land where only God has a plan, where Indians are killed, and its name is Brazil. Niggas were lost in the road with hunger and fear, but we survive is the word. I guess now it should be clear. You see, my niggas are rolling, my energy's flowing. My spirit is free now, the reason why I sing now. I set the bar so high now, just look how we shine now. The devil is weak now, it rains in the hell now. You can't stop us, No one can. And I guess it should be clear now. Yeah, it's a war outside, but we've survived. Higher dreams. Carmelo, 1998. Let's go. Say, I've been dreaming about it since I left my home. Put your name in the history, nigga, you won't. But your light was to shine even when you're gone. And the wind is gonna take me to the place I'm from. I've been dreaming about it since I left my home. Put your name in the history, nigga, you won't. But your light was to shine even when you're gone. And the wind is gonna take me to the place I'm from. I say, I got this one thing in my mind, and this one thing will make you shine. Cause black's beautiful, so shine your light. My mama told me to bring the light. Say, do you believe in you and I? I've gotta say, we have to fight. Yes, yes, we have to fight. We have to fight. I've been praying to the Lord just to keep us safe. And if you never felt this pain, you got nothing to say. And if you love me, honey, I just hope you say. Cause when your life is a fight, ain't no time to be playing. Cause I got blood in my mouth, and I'm not from the south. They will scream, they will shout. Now just tell me what you're about when the rain pours out. When the rain pours out. I hope this lyrics can also set you free. A black man has no chance to fail. Rather they kill you, rob you. Instead of schools, they're still making jails. Like Bob said, who the catfish. Cole said they can shoot you down. And if you don't know by now, this is part of the show now. And I drink too much, feel too much, say too much. I've touched the sky and the mud. I gotta be strong and reach some more. You can't be more than rich and poor. Say, cause I better dream higher in this motherfucker. And my throat is getting drier in this motherfucker. But my heart is getting colder for these motherfuckers. But my God got my soul in this motherfucker. I got this one thing in my mind, and this one thing will make you shine. Cause black is beautiful, so shine your light. My mama told me to bring the light. Say, do you believe in you and I? I've gotta say, we have to fight. Yes, I've gotta say, we have to fight. Say, I've been dreaming about it since I left my home. Put your name in the history, nigga, you won't. But your light was to shine even when you're gone. And the wind is gonna take me to the place I'm from. I've been dreaming about it since I left my home. Put your name in the history, nigga, you won't. But your light was to shine even when you're gone. And the wind is gonna take me to the place I'm from.
Shine your light, yeah. Shine your light.
Thank you, family.
Shine your light. Oh, shine your light.
Horror comrades. So that was Lil Carmelo. I'm telling y'all, we're just getting warmed up. We got artists from all across the genres. You could definitely hear, the Afro beats and hip hop influences that, make up Lil Carmelo's music. And next up, we finna go bilingual on y'all. So next up, comrades, we have UMSO. So UMSO was created in 2017 by the intercultural couple Bishop and Lena Silva. Bishop is an African-American living in Brazil, and Lena Silva is Afro-Brazilian. And together they make rap and soul music, addressing different themes and spreading their cultures, as well as encouraging people to learn languages through music. Bishop was born and raised in the state of New Jersey. His interest in Brazilian hip hop resulted in learning Portuguese, and his decision to move to Brazil and create multilingual music and seeking new options to grow as an artist. And Lena Silva was born in the state of Bahia, Brazil. She lived in Italy for a couple of years where she learned Italian, and she mixes that in with the Portuguese, Spanish, and English that UMSO uses to create music. The couple met on Facebook, and after months talking on the internet, they made plans to be together and start a music group based out of Brazil. So Huru, and let's go ahead and play some UMSO.
Play that new UMSO record.
UMSO. Long journey.
Is everything dreads for the call? Is everything gold for the fall? Medallions, dreadlocks, and black fists. And I might start slinging these bars.
in style for a while, rocking those afros and braids for today. But what about tomorrow? Will it still be the same way, or is it just a phase?
O fato de parar de usar relaxante não faz você mais militante. Seu jeito como gasta é relevante. Aonde você compra quando quer ser elegante? Eu compro dos afro-vendedores e ambulantes. Importante é que circule na comunidade. Canto tanta verdade, resolvi ser palestrante e parar com hip hop brincadeira. Mas é difícil estar na cena sendo mulher brasileira, preta periférica no meio da miséria. Pensei em desistir pra ser sincera. Eu andava com alguns coletivos, mas já era. Ciúmes e inveja causa treta entre irmãs e irmãs. Eu encontrei desunião, desilusão. O jogo é escroto. O que faz, não faz pelo outro. Tem muita gente aproveitando do seu próprio povo. Me enganaram uma vez, não vai acontecer de novo. Forte é o poder que poderia ter os afro-brasileiros. Olha os caminhoneiros, pararam o Brasil inteiro sem as forças armadas dos fuzileiros. Mas preferem jogar pedras nos terreiros. Tiroteios, balas perdidas no Rio de Janeiro. É triste, mas não desiste, é só um teste. Ser preto não é moda, nem é roupa que se veste.
I ain't one of those blacks that got an act for spinning, so I ain't got a Cadillac, cause I know my limits. So it's Northern playalistic Pontiac pimpin' till the summertime. A Jersey boy, a Mac in a black linen uncrushed. Still the envy of all women, okay, jokes aside. I'm noticing this wokeness in overdrive. I'm down for the ride just as long as it ain't falsified. We on the front lines waking people up worldwide in different languages where the pain and the anguish is. Understand that it's dangerous and very few can hang with us. They kill Marielle, loading up the military. So I hope you don't think that we just out here playing with this. And what is solidarity? I got a question. Is it watching the movie doing the Bronx arm gesture? Or the mama crying, the son thrown up on a stretcher, eyes closed, soul headed for the cosmos. If you know what I know, you know we bout survival. Got nothing to do with style, don't start watch who I buy from. Why would I cop Nike when somebody make shoes that look like me? It's more than Dashiki's natural hair and medallion. Dreadlocks used to mean peace and love, now it's violent. Cops see me, turn on their sirens, put the car in reverse. I run, they start firing. I complain, they say that's life, like I'm supposed to be fine with it. Black is back in style for a while, rocking those afros and braids for today. But what about tomorrow? Will it still be the same way, or is it just a phase? Black is back in style for a while, rocking those afros and braids for today. But what about tomorrow? Will it still be the same way, or is it just a phase?
Uhuru. So that was So, the musical duo from Brazil. How are you guys doing?
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, we're good. We're fine. How you?
We are good. I'm good. Thank you. Y'all, I don't know, but I'm just trying to learn Portuguese ASAP. Y'all make it sound so good.
That's what's up. Nice. Thanks for having us on. I saw the other brother that was before. You said he was from Capão Redondo too. So that's good. I've been living here for 6 years.
Yeah.
You've been living here
7 years. Yeah.
Wow, definitely. So, now for those of us who don't, speak Portuguese, can you tell us what your name means and, what inspired to that name, So?
Okay. What does So mean, Lena?
So means the union.
Just one.
Just one.
For example, if you said you want to learn Portuguese, I'll give a quick lesson for 1 minute. In 1 minute. If you go to a restaurant, or let's say you go to any place, you want to buy something, somebody asks you how much, how many, they'll say quantos. And if you just want to say just one, you'll say un só.
Wow.
Un só. So it's like just one.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you for that lesson. So what inspired you to that name?
Because the real inspiration is that we are colonized people, you know, unfortunately, and she's, you know, from Brazil, Bahia. No other place in the world had as many slaves as that place. Salvador, Bahia has the most Black people outside of Africa. So the enslaved history in Bahia and in Brazil in general is real strong, and you know we know that. And I'm from North New Jersey, but my lineage comes from Virginia, Mecklenburg County, the south of Virginia. And so we were enslaved people, but before that, we had a history. Now, it depends. A lot of Brazilians are Bantu, you know what I mean? But still, we don't know. I never did some Yoruba, and I never did my DNA, you know? So we could be the same from one people, even though you got Brazil, you got the United States, that's 7,000 kilometers of distance. We're still just one people. So that was the reason for the name.
Absolutely. That's a great reason for that name. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I knew it has some, deep meaning behind it. And I don't know if y'all caught in the comments, but the Burning Spear newspaper, prints our, 14-point platform in Portuguese, for people who speak Portuguese, because we recognize a lot of Africans, are in that area of the world.
I didn't realize that you had it in Portuguese as well.
Yeah, just not the whole newspaper, but we, translate that page, that 13-point platform. Yeah.
13-point platform.
So
I saw that the newspaper is in existence since 68. That's big, a lot of longevity in it.
Exactly. And so I wanted to, ask about your song, the one we just played, Black is Back in Style. And, you have a really interesting message. You point out how, things generally associated, with Blackness, like having locks, afro, braids, they're in style. And, you ask this question in your song, like, will it be in style tomorrow, or is it a genuine expression of culture, or is it just a phase, right? And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, the background behind the writing of that song.
Okay, Lena, I want, because she's like, oh, English.
I'm a little shy, I don't speak really good, but.
No, well, all right, well, look. You're here in Brazil, they say dread maker, but it's a loctician. So her career is that she's a loctician. And she started one of the first people that started doing it out here, as far as like the designs and the lock styles and everything. But what happened? What movie came out that made your business skyrocket?
Yeah, a lot of people.
After what movie?
Yeah, Black Panthers.
Black Panther. So it became a phase. Like I started seeing here in Brazil, like people been on it, they know, you know what I mean? But it was a big phase after that movie. Everybody wanting dreads. That's what inspired us to write it. Like, all right, so now it's becoming this online, everybody wants to seem like they're super, so deep, you know what I mean? But their actions, I didn't see that. You really care about what you're talking about, or is it just like, all right, it's cool to be Black now, you know what I mean? So just basically, to make a long story short, that was basically what it was about when we did it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was so catchy. Black is back in style. It's a really great song. And we really hope that stay in touch with the newspaper and all that stuff. And we just really appreciate your music, your work. It's really critical. And yeah, we just thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having us, and we following. Everything y'all put out, I'm gonna see it. So thanks for having us be a part of this. We're gonna stick around, watch some other people too.
Definitely.
And yeah, much love.
Much love. All right.
Peace.
So comrades, up next, we have our keynote address about the importance of independent Black media by none other than Akile Enai, the editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear newspaper and director of the Agitation and Propaganda Department of the African People's Socialist Party. So uhuru and welcome, Director Akile.
Uhuru, comrades, Soliana. And I just want to give a big uhuru to all of the cultural performers so far. And I know that we have a jam-packed program today. So just really want to just recognize and salute these incredible artists. And off the heels of comrades in the music duo UMSO, I want to say one Africa, one nation. And that this is the recognition that one, we have Africans performers on this call who are located in various places throughout the world. We'll have Africans in the US, we have Africans in Germany, Jamaica, Brazil, and that all of us, everywhere it is that we've been dispersed, constitute the African nation. And the fact is, when you listen to the music of our people throughout the different places, like I don't speak Portuguese, but I felt that rhythm. I know that song, I know that tune, because Africans here in the US, make the same music, and Africans in Africa make the same. It's the extension of Africa throughout the entire world that we see reflected here on this program tonight. So I just really want to start by saying that, because sometimes we don't always know what we're looking at when we hear it, when we see it, and we have to be able to really identify Africa in all of this. And the fact is that they have tried so hard. And when I say they, I mean the colonizer, the oppressor, those who have snatched us up from Africa and through us all throughout the world, and then impose different identities and all these different languages that prevent us from being able to connect and communicate with one another to advance our own struggle and in our own interest. That despite this, Africa has managed to seep through it all. And this is how we know that, we are one people. And, on the teachings of Marcus Garvey, who organized the largest organization of Africans for African self-determination, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. He said, Africa for the Africans at home, those at home and those abroad. So I wanted to say that, and just really want to recognize the theme of this event today, which is that, you can't jail the revolution. And and again, who we're talking about the colonizer. We're talking about the colonizer system of colonial capitalism that has been imposed on the entire world, that came into existence 600 years ago when they snatched the first African from Africa. When they committed the assault, Europe committed this assault on Africa for the benefit of Europe and what would become white people subsequent. So, this has been an ongoing process for 600 years. Africans have fought against this system, have fought against colonial domination. And I'll talk about this in just a moment, about some of this history in terms of trying to prevent Africans from being able to rise up and achieve and take back that history that comrades in UMSO were talking about, that predates slavery, right? We know that this history, African history, did not start with colonial enslavement of Africa and African people, and that there was a history prior to that where Africans existed in the world, along with other people that have been attacked as a consequence of establishing this colonial capitalist world system. And this is something that Africans have been engaged in, again, for 600 years. We've been struggling to be free, be a free people once again. And we're here to say that, as I'm here right now as a member of the African People's Socialist Party, to say that they can't kill the revolution, they can't jail the revolution, despite all of their attempts, that they will not be successful. And I owe a lot of, not a lot, but everything that I can articulate today in this program, and us even being here to have this discussion today, to Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the leader and founder of the African People's Socialist Party, of the Uhuru movement, who took up the mantle of Marcus Garvey, who built, as I mentioned, this organization of 11 million Africans around the world. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela, over 50 years ago, picked up that mantle and decided that, despite the fact that the African Revolution suffered a defeat in the 1960s, that this would not, be the final sentence in terms of the freedom of African people. This would not be the final determiner. This will not be the thing that wipes the whole revolutionary struggle off the map. That the chairman assumed the task of completing the Black Revolution and created the African People's Socialist Party with the express intent to free Africa and African people. Nothing less than that. Nothing less than that. No opportunist short-term interest to get a couple, Negroes to be rich, or in places of power, like in terms of the imperialist powers, neo-colonial powers. This was not the objective of the African People's Socialist Party. Of Chairman Omali Yeshitela was founding an organization that would pick up or the Black Revolution of the 1960s had left off would complete it and would totally overturn this social system once and for all, and would free African people, where Africa would be redeemed, where African people would be able to seize control over our land and resources once again, be able to determine our own lives for ourselves. That's Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And the fact that he developed this theory of African internationalism, which is an advancement of Garvey's African fundamentalism, which continues to relay that African people are one people everywhere it is that we've been dispersed. And part of this assault on Africa has been to strip us of our identity and our connection to Africa. And the fact that we would fight in these places where we've been isolated, these places where we've been dropped off, and we would fight over here, isolated from the entire, 2 billion African population that exists throughout the world. This was all a part of the assault. And so Chairman has been leading this struggle for more than 50 years to bring the whole project, the whole African Revolutionary Project, back together. And that's why we're able to be here to have this discussion. And I'm going to talk about the importance of independent Black media as it relates to the Burning Spear newspaper. But I think it's even more important to discuss the history and the context in which the Burning Spear newspaper came into existence and the purpose of the newspaper, because it's not just a publication that's out there for people to read and enjoy some social and political commentary about the situation in the world. I mean, it provides that. It provides an analysis that you can't get anywhere else in terms of an African internationalist analysis, the worldview of the African working class. Yes, it provides those things. Yes, it helps to explain the world. But here in the African People's Socialist Party and with the Burning Spear newspaper, our objective is not just to explain the world, it's to change it. It's to change it. It's to arm African people with the ability to change the world, to change our circumstances, to be able to explain what it is, and to be able to say, here are the tools necessary. Here is what we need to do in order to advance our struggle and to change our conditions. That's what the Spear is for. And there's a reason for that. And that's because we are in a situation right now where African people, and I think it's a pretty self-explanatory, very obvious thing, where African people are colonially dominated everywhere it is that we are in the world. And that's just the reality, regardless of what people may say, I think I'm free or whatever, that the reality is that African people, we don't have power. We don't have control over our lives, our own resources. The fact is, our lives are dictated at the barrel of a gun, that we come from the richest continent on the planet, but Africans everywhere we look live in the most impoverished, most humiliating conditions possible. This is everywhere Africans are located. We are living like this despite where we come from, despite Africa's vast resources. And African people being one of those resources ourselves. So despite this, Africans are living in this situation. And every time we attempt to struggle against these conditions, this colonial state, which is the police, which is the military, which is the courts, which is what they call the justice system, these things are brought down against Africans every time we attempt to struggle in our own interests. And that's why we have this discussion, this whole program titled, that they can't jail the revolution. And that part of this event is raising up and demanding the release of all our political prisoners. Because these are comrades, are forces that dare to struggle against this system, to change our conditions, to go up against the colonial capitalists. And we're determined to free African people. And as a consequence, these forces, as we have this discussion, are still locked up from the 1960s. So the counterinsurgency of the 1960s was a war against the anti-colonial struggle that had erupted throughout the world. And it's important to note that this struggle was happening all throughout the world in the era of the 50s and 60s. You had China, you had Cuba, you had Vietnam, and all these other places engaged in revolutionary struggle, anti-colonial struggle. And there was a special recognition of the significance of Africa and African people at the center. And it was the struggle of Africans, because that is the pedestal on which the whole colonial capital system rests. It was through the assault on Africa that gave birth to capitalism, to this parasitic economic system that we experience today, that we are forced into today. Africa is at the center of it. And therefore, Africa is at the center of the whole revolutionary struggle. And revolutionary forces recognize this. And they recognized it even before the 60s, where you had forces looking to comrades like Marcus Garvey as a part of the global anti-colonial struggle that was happening. But in the 50s and 60s, there was this real concentrated, it was a very obviously revolutionary fervor that had erupted throughout the world, and African people were at the center of this thing. And the struggle was for Black power. It was for Black power. Our response to colonialism was to struggle for Black power. It wasn't a struggle for integration. It wasn't a struggle to be able to drink from the same fountains as white people, to sit on the same toilets as white people, and to be terrorized next to white people on their buses and their schools or anything like that. It wasn't a struggle to be able to integrate. And the whole integrationist movement came as a result of the counterinsurgency against the Black Power movement. It was working against the Black Power movement. Our struggle was for Black power. Not to make white people like us, to change their minds, to make them anti-racist or anything like that. That's not what we were about. That's not what we were fighting for. That's not what the Vietnamese were fighting for, to get the French and US imperialists, the colonizers, to love them. That's not what people were engaged in. They were in a struggle, in a contest for power to take back their land and their resources. That's what we were engaged in. Because slavery and colonialism locked us into a colonial mode of production where Africans, through colonialism, have to produce and reproduce life for the colonizer. This is what we do currently. We produce and reproduce life for the colonizer. The fact that majority of the places around the world that the colonizer, white people, live in the conditions that they do, where they get the benefits of social and economic wealth, is because there is somebody producing that life and that reality for white people. So slavery and colonialism locked us into this colonial mode of production. And the struggle for Black power was on the trajectory to sever that relationship. That's what we were engaged in. That's what the struggle for Black power meant, is that we were working to sever that relationship, not to perfect it, not to make it better, not to make it more enjoyable, but to sever it completely, because we recognized that there was no redeemable qualities about Africans living in those circumstances. So we were fighting for political and economic power, which would interrupt the colonizer's way of life. So this was a fundamental problem for the US, which is the world colonial hegemon, which at this point in today's world, this is deteriorating, in terms of the US being the global superpower. But this is a position that the US was able to enjoy for quite some time. And they positioned themselves as the global colonial hegemon. And the fact that Africans were engaged in a struggle for power that would disrupt the colonial mode of production, this was a serious problem for them. So the US government initiated a war without terms, because when you know about war, and when you go to war, there are terms and conditions of war, but the counterinsurgency was a war without terms. And that they unleashed their arsenal on the Black Revolution wherever it reared its head. Because the Black Revolution and the struggle for Black power was happening all throughout the world. Where Africans were located, there were Africans who were struggling against this colonial system. And that's why forces like Patrice Lumumba was assassinated, Kwame Nkrumah and Malcolm X were killed. And it's why Bobby Hutton and Fred Hampton were assassinated. And it was the basis of this COINTELPRO to crush the movement for Black power. They would initiate murderous attacks on Black organizations, and most notably the Black Panther Party, which the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's director, J. Edgar Hoover, and if you've ever read the COINTELPRO documents, if you've read anything about the counterinsurgency from the 1960s, J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director, had identified the Black Panther Party, which was the vanguard for our struggle at this time, had identified the Black Panther Party as the greatest internal threat to US national security. And another strategic weapon on behalf of the counterinsurgency was the colonial prisons themselves. And of course, we know that these prisons serve multiple purposes under the colonial mode of production, but prisons were also a weapon. Africans were stuffed into the prisons in droves. And the present day statistics of Africans making up majority of the prison population in the US, despite making up a small percentage of the population in this settler colony, is partly a consequence of this counterinsurgency. Those who they did not kill were thrown into prison with the intent to remove our leaders and revolutionary forces from the struggle permanently. And we also have, you know, the whole crack cocaine epidemic that certainly swept the streets here within the US, where Africans, you know, from the revolutionary period of the 1960s, assassinated, thrown in jail, and then the imposition of crack cocaine initiated now, unleashed this whole war on drugs, which saw Africans becoming addicts or being thrown into prison as a consequence of participating in this now imposed illegal drug economy. So they were working to eradicate the material fight and the revolutionary fervor expressed among the African working class masses. Because the fact is, you know, they physically removed us, or they terrorized us out of political life. You were threatened by the fear of death, or you were threatened with imprisonment. If you had a thought about Black power, you had to fear these things being a possibility coming down on you. So their war was effective. And this is something that the chairman has summed up for us, that their war was effective. It was crushed. And presently, there are African freedom fighters who are rotting in prisons right now, as we're having this discussion, because they dared to fight for Black freedom, because they fought to transform the oppressive conditions of our people. We have brothers and sisters presently exiled. We have comrades who recently passed in these prisons, like Comrade Mafundi Lake, who is the namesake for our sponsor prisoner program, which sends the spear to over 700 brothers and sisters locked down in these concentration camps. And this highlights the significance of the Burning Spear newspaper, which was founded in 1968 by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. This predates the existence of the African People's Socialist Party, which was founded in 1972. And the Burning Spear newspaper played a critical role in bringing the whole revolutionary project back together. And part of what this spear has recognized is that Africans, and what the chairman and the party has recognized, that Africans thrown into prison are not supposed to be this neglected, disregarded population. I mean, there are millions of us locked within these prison walls, and there are forces on this call who work with us today who are in prison, who cannot be neglected or disregarded, because that is a part of the intent of throwing us in prison, is to remove us from being able to participate in political life. But the spear is an organizing tool within the prisons. And so there are millions of our people behind these walls who must be organized. And throughout our history, we have forces like Comrade Sundiata Akoli, Assata Shakur, Mafundi Lake, who all had access and who had written for the pages of the Burning Spear newspaper. I mean, the spear circulates within these prisons today by people who are subscribed to us, who are subscribed to the spear, who write letters to us, thanking us, saying that the spear has been passed around until it's literally falling apart, because that's how significant it is and how significant of a weapon it is. In fact, there are prisons who send the spear back because of the fear that this will create some kind of dissent or something like that within the prisons themselves, because you begin to sum up, you begin to explain, articulate for Africans in prison why they are in there in the first place, and Africans can start coming to certain conclusions and begin to organize within the prisons, because the prisons are a hotbed for revolutionary organizing, by the way. And we can transform these prisons into African internationalist universities with the Burning Spear newspaper. And that's why we're having this discussion today, why we're having this whole concert, which, you know, is an important expression of African cultural workers who are turning their skills over to the African Revolution, who have something to say, and who are able to use their talents by way of music and poetry and all, you know, the incredible writings and things like that, be able to turn that over to the African Revolution to advance our struggle. So we're doing this to one, put this on display, but we're also doing it to call on you to support this institution, the Burning Spear newspaper, that you must support the Burning Spear newspaper, your newspaper, my newspaper, our newspaper, the newspaper of the African nation and the worldwide African Revolution. So we have to do this financially. We got to financially support this spear, because this work must continue. The spear must continue burning. And before I wrap up, because I've spoken a lot about the counterinsurgency of the 1960s. And we can't be mistaken as if the counterinsurgency has just disappeared off the face of the earth today. I mean, the fact is that the US government and the colonial powers of the world are engaged in all kinds of counterinsurgent attacks everywhere to prevent the ability for people to be free, for colonized people to be free, for Africans to be free. And they're engaged in this process on a daily basis. This is why they're dropping bombs in Africa. That's what the existence of AFRICOM in Africa today. This is the purpose. This is the basis for it, because they are currently waging counterinsurgency war against the struggle of African and colonized peoples everywhere. And the most recent and pronounced manifestation of the counterinsurgency was this attack against the African People's Socialist Party, against the Uhuru movement chairman Omali Yeshitela, that happened on July 29th. Where the FBI carried out a simultaneous attack in 2 cities where the African People's Socialist Party has prominent bases. And they attacked the chairman, our deputy chair, Onizane Yeshitela. They attacked our Solidarity Center in St. Louis, Missouri, and in St. Petersburg, Florida. They attacked our Uhuru movement institution. They attacked me. And you had flashbang grenades. They had assault rifles pointed at our leaders. They had lasers targeted right at the chest of the chairman and handcuff us right in the middle of our community. And this is happening right now, today, July 29th, 2022, this year, not something of the past, but right now. And that is a statement of the profound crisis that this social system is in, that just like the 60s, the US government fears its place in the world as the world colonial hegemon. It fears that its position is being challenged, and it knows, it's not just fears, but it knows that its reign is coming to an end. It knows this. And it has also made an important statement when they initiated this assault on us. They made an important statement when they did it. They didn't have to explicitly say it, but they identified the vanguard of the African Revolution when they attacked the African People's Socialist Party. It's the reason why they attacked the Black Panther Party in the 1960s, because the African People's Socialist Party in our 50-year history is recognized as a threat to the whole colonial mode of production, because the African People's Socialist Party represents the aims and aspirations of Africa and African people. And Africa, as I mentioned, is at the center of all the world's struggles, because it's Africa and African people that make up the pedestal of this whole system, this foul system. It's African people that rests at the center of that. And so the US government and the chairman has noted 3 strategic enemies in the world today: Russia, China, and Africa. And that's what the struggle, again, and the attack represented on the African People's Socialist Party represented an attack on Africa, and it represented an attack on the right of African people to struggle for our freedom. And so we have to be opposed to those attacks. We have to say, hands off Africa, hands off Uhuru. And we have to join this struggle. We have to fight, and we have to support the Burning Spear newspaper that has, over the 54 years of our existence, been able to articulate this and advance our struggle. And just want to conclude by saying that, one, as evidence, they can't jail the revolution. I was not born in the 1960s. I was born in 1996 during a different kind of rebellion in St. Petersburg, Florida, when they murdered 18-year-old Tyron Lewis, and my community in St. Pete rose up. I was born 2 days before they killed Tyron Lewis in 1996. But this is my presence here in this meeting is a follow-up to the statement that they can't kill the revolution. They can't jail the revolution. No matter what it is that they throw against us, they cannot succeed. And that the situation of our struggle is much different today. It is absolutely different. And that we have to be able to see our victory. And our victory is going to come as a consequence of forces like you, who are donating, who are supporting, who are joining and fighting until it's won. So, comrades, I just want to appreciate being able to take up some time today on this program to talk about the significance of this incredible institution, the Burning Spear newspaper. Again, I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and the 50 years of relentless leadership and history of the African People's Socialist Party toward African redemption. I want to salute the profound Burning Spear newspaper team, the staff and the volunteers that make this work happen. I don't produce this newspaper on a whim on my own. It's a team of forces that make this happen, including the team of forces who have brought this program to you tonight, including the wonderful managing editor / MC for the night, Comrade Soliana Bikel. I want to recognize Comrades Logan, Mackindahl, Sayero, Sandy, Lisa, Comrade Sheila for organizing a lot of these artists that we have heard or going to be hearing from today. Comrade Nyabinga, just a stalwart on the Burning Spear staff. I just want to also really recognize and salute you, and to all the other volunteers that were not named. Just recognize your significance in our struggle, that you play a profound role in advancing the African Revolutionary Project. So thank you all so much. Thank you to the cultural performers for contributing such profound presentations to our struggle today. And want to again close out with saying, one Africa, one nation, they cannot jail the revolution. Uhuru, comrades, free them all. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Director Akile, thank you so much. So y'all, that powerful speaker was the editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear newspaper, Akile Enai. Thank you again so much for that presentation. You know, she gets me riled up every single time she speaks, and I know y'all were too. So yeah. Now, comrades, we're going to watch a short video about the state of prisons and prisoners in the United States and the Burning Spear newspaper's historic and current efforts to get the spear into the hands of our political prisoners and eventually secure their freedom. So, Uhuru, let's go ahead and play that video. Over 1 million Black people are imprisoned in the U.S. That's 1 in 8 of all people imprisoned in the entire world. In 2014 alone, Africans represented 2.3 million of the correctional population in the United States. And despite the decrease of violent crimes, the number of people in prison or jail has risen by 50%. Nearly half, 46%, of people incarcerated in state prisons in 2015 were convicted of nonviolent drug, property, or public order crimes. When it comes to arrests related to marijuana possession, even after its decriminalization or legalization, Africans still remain the primary targets of those arrests and incarcerations. The mass incarceration of African people breaks up families and removes African men and women from our community during our prime productive years. The prison system in the U.S. is modern-day slavery, where the forced labor of African people makes millions for the government and corporations. Prisoners continue to be used as free labor today, with African prisoners in California being used to fight the colonial forest fires that have been ravaging the West. With the privatization of prisons across the U.S., libraries are closing and access to information from the outside world is increasingly denied to our brothers and sisters behind bars.
At its inception, the Burning Spear newspaper has been about supporting and liberating incarcerated Africans.
Since its first full print issue, the Burning Spear newspaper has always shipped free to any prisoner who requested. The Burning Spear newspaper is a lifeline to thousands of Africans in prison who pass the paper from cell to cell until it falls apart. The Spear ends the isolation of African prisoners, connecting the African nation around the world. We depend on donations from people like you to pay for the monthly subscriptions that they cannot. Today, the Burning Spear sponsor a prisoner Fund ships newspaper to over 600 prisoners at 150 prisons.
The Spear is shipped in much of the South, East, Midwest, and Western states. In Texas alone, the Burning Spear newspaper is mailed to 13 prisons every month. The Burning Spear still has a long way to go in order to be shipped to every prisoner in every state, and that is where your donation and subscription makes that a reality.
Every week, the Burning Spear office gets letters from the prisoners asking to receive the Spear, asking for help with their case, or just telling their story. It's time for us as a people, as a race and nation to eliminate our backwards behavior and become pillars of our communities. Men, it's time to raise our kids so they can reach their goals and stand by our women, not mistreat them as less than. We have to stop being materialistic, looking at the oppressor's success and imitating him, and realize where he got his wealth. We need to be self-sufficient and rebuild our community in a positive way so we can live and prosper. I pray that we unite in solidarity so the Black lives can truly matter. My name is Mwalim Shakur, and I'm an imprisoned New African revolutionary who's been held captive behind enemy lines for 17 years. I'm a father, grandfather, son, uncle, cousin, and brother who wants to see us thrive and prosper the way our ancestors fought and died for us too. Struggling with you always, Mwalim you, servant of the people.
A letter to the Black women. Wait, I can explain. Please give ears to this elucidation. No excuses. My chauvinistic vision was the result of the aggregation of misinformation and immaturity. You see, your divine nature was obvious, but for some reason I couldn't commit to the religion. Hopefully you'll once again allow my hands to serve as your heart's repository. You see, I'm fully aware that it was my part and my actions that would chart a different course for us. And of course, I've searched my mind, body, and soul, and will allocate to you the best of it. But with the understanding of life comes the knowledge of the brevity thereof. I leave nothing to be wasted, so I present to you the rest of it. I know I've been losing, but what's the deficit? I won't patronize you with polluted promises, but give me time and I promise that time and I will prove that these words are definite, the personification of grit, grace, and elegance. Is it edible? I want to taste it, chew on it, lick the plate. Food for thought, rumination. Your brown skin gives light in places. Furthermore, I can no longer ignore the dormant of your elimination. By Kenneth Harding.
Understand that we, the brothers and sisters confined in the belly of the beast, play a pivotal role in organization, as well as returning back into our communities as builders and leaders in the destruction of these capitalist systems. Knowing very much from first-hand accounts of Y point number 6 of the 14-point platform, as well as all others, are lights that will guide us and ultimately bring us to Uhuru now. Your brother comrade, in struggle I remain, Keith Rogers. Support and donate to the Mafundi Lake sponsored prisoner program and help these prisoners tell their stories.
Despair is more than a newspaper to the million Africans locked down in brutal conditions in the prisons of America. It is a lifeline. Sponsor a prisoner today. Your $25 donation will put despair into the hands of an African prisoner every month for a year. Do it today and become the lifeline for Africans who do not have their freedom. Uhuru.
All right, comrades. So now we're going to hear from me a little more about our fundraising goals and how you can contribute to, as we say, keep the spear burning. So can I get those slideshows up, please? And I'll go ahead and get started. All right, perfect. Thank you. So the Burning Spear newspaper's free subscriptions for prisoners program is named after Mafundi Lake, as you can see on the screen there. Mafundi Lake was one of Africa's greatest sons. He was a political prisoner who never wavered in his love and fight for African liberation. Mafundi Lake became a martyr on January 21, 2018, after being held for weeks without his medication. Mafundi was born in 1940 and grew up in Birmingham, Alabama in the 1950s during the height of the Civil Rights Movement and the emergence of the Black Power Revolution. Mafundi was framed and convicted of a $34 robbery as a teenager, and kidnapped by the Sheriff Bull Connor's deputies. He was sentenced to 14 years of slave labor in the prison camps throughout the state. It was while in prison that Mafundi truly became the incredible revolutionary organizer that he was. He built the Inmates for Action, IFA, and was punished for that with 12 years in isolation. Mafundi Lake exemplified George Jackson's quote, "They will never count me among the broken men." Upon his release, Mafundi began organizing prison support organizations from the outside. In 1979, he became the first chair of the African National Prison Organization, also known as AMPO, which is built by the APSP, the African People's Socialist Party. In 1983, he was framed again and imprisoned, but he maintained his revolutionary fire until the day that he died. So next slide, please. So the Mafundi Lake Prisoner Subscription Program ships the Burning Spear to over 700 prisoners every single month throughout the whole year. Anyone can request a subscription for a prisoner by filling out the form on our website at theburningspear.com/prisoner. So it looks like that. You put their names, the prison number, and then the name of the prison or the jail, and we directly send it to them every single month. Next slide. So the program is funded entirely through donations from Burning Spear readers and supporters. So $25 covers the cost of printing and shipping a subscription for 1 year. So we're calling on every single person watching tonight to donate to sponsor one or more prisoner subscriptions. for just $25. And so if you do the math on that, right? So $25 times 700 prisoner subscriptions and growing, that adds up to over $17,000 over the year. So we have a goal to fully fund the program for the rest of the year with the fundraising that we do from now through the end of December. But we have a goal tonight to raise $2,000 for the prisoner subscription fund, that if we can go beyond that, we want to do that. So $2,000 is a very, reasonable goal to achieve among our viewers from Zoom, YouTube, Facebook. And so if you can go to theburningspear.com/donate, that's theburningspear.com/donate right now. And if there's anyone watching tonight that could, sponsor 10 prisoner subscriptions, that would be, $250. But if 10 of you, donate 25, then there you go. That also works. But for anyone who can become a monthly sustainer as well, that is a way you can spread your support out over the year. So this can be from $5, $10 to $25 a month, per month. And that is a really powerful way you can support, and will count your projected donation over 1 year towards today's goal. So even if you can give 25 or 50 to sponsor 1 or 2 subscriptions or whatever you can do, please go right now to theburningspear.com/donate. Or you can also just put a pledge in the chat and let us know by what date and how much you want to donate and how we can reach you so we can follow up with you. So next slide, please. And so we want to recognize, some people who have already taken that initiative, that step, and are sustainers of the Burning Spear Media. So just saluting the people here, we have Raya in St. Louis, we have Renee in Philadelphia, we have Cherry in Toledo, we have Penny in St. Louis, we have me, I'm also a sustainer of the Burning Spear, we have Lisa in Minneapolis, we have Emmanuel in Culver City, California, we have another Manuel in Fairfax, Virginia, we have Quetza in California, we have Allison in Philadelphia, we have Paul in Spokane. So these are all people who, donate every single month, varying amounts to sustain the Spear every month. So they give a contribution so that the Spear has a steady base of funding to, rely on throughout the year. And, we salute these supporters and encourage anyone who's able to, become a sustainer. So on that donate form, you can choose to make your donation monthly, and then you can, choose however much you want to contribute. Next slide. And you can also donate by mailing a check to the Burning Spear at 1245 18th Avenue Street, Street, St. Petersburg, Florida, zip code 33705, or you can also do it through PayPal to paypal@burningspearmedia.com. We make it very difficult for you to not donate if you guys aren't already picking up on that vibe already. So I'm just gonna go ahead and check on the donations. All right, so we got a couple coming in. This is beautiful. So we got Tiana from Brooklyn who pledged to donate $25. Thank you so very much. We have Betty Davis, who's also from Brooklyn, who donates to who's gonna donate $300. Wow, just like that. That's crazy. And then we got Sandy from Oregon donating $100. Thank you so much, Sandy. We got Lisa from Minneapolis, another $100. We got Jamie from St. Pete donating $15. That is, y'all, we're already making the goal. So right now we have 540 donated and pledged, and that makes it 2,460 left to go. And promise you, by the end of the night, you're going to feel moved. You're going to want to donate and become a part of the sustainer group. So thank you, comrades. So next up we have Dr. Matsamela Odom, the Coterie Development Coordinator, who will talk to us about the African People's Socialist Party's history in the struggle to free political prisoners. Can we get Comrade Matsamela up? Uhuru.
Uhuru, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, Uhuru, yeah. So I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. It's as Black August comes to a close, it's important for us to, just never forget the struggle of our political prisoners. Political prisoners being defined as people who have been, Africans who have been imprisoned for their political association. I think that this, on top of that, it's important for us to note that all African people the imprisonment of all African people is a political act. It's a political act meant to keep Africans tied to the system, to really prevent African anti-colonial resistance. This is why we see that the people who have been the longest in prison in the United States and elsewhere have been African people. This makes me think of somebody who we've referenced already today, who we should hold up is Comrade Sundar Okoli. But I'd like to begin by saluting Chairman Omali Yeshitela, leader of African People's Socialist Party, founder of the Burning Spirit newspaper. I'd like to salute Director Akila Anai for her brilliant presentation that came before the appeal that we just heard, and just tell everybody to go on and get involved because the Spirit has been understood as a revolutionary Bible amongst African people. And it's the Spirit, but also the multiple products of Burning Spirit publications, such as the writings of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, that are able to pierce those walls, those prison walls. Chairman Omali Yeshitela writes in Easy Equilibrium that our party's position, in one of his books, that our party's position that the U.S. It's our party's position that the U.S. prison system is a colonial prison system is clear in our 14-point platform, which was adopted in 1979 and revised at our first party Congress in 1991. That 1979 is absolutely an important year because of the fact that that's the year of actually the very first African Black August. 1979 is the year of the first Black August. So we see the party, at the forefront of what becomes understood as Black August. The party's always at the forefront, as the forefront of that. And that was revised at our party's first Congress in 1981. Point 6 of our platform says we want the immediate and unconditional release of all Black people who are presently locked down in U.S. prisons. Point 7 says we want complete amnesty for all African political prisoners and prisoners of war from U.S. prisons or their immediate release to any friendly country which will accept them and give them political asylum. So we demand the release of all political prisoners. And we know that Sundar Okoli was recently won his parole after almost 50 years of confinement. Born in 1937, he was a member of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, and he was in prison for an act of self-defense. In May 2nd, 1973. This was the act of self-defense on the New Jersey Turnpike that ended with Comrade, I think it was Zaid Malik Shakur, being assassinated by a state trooper, and Comrade Assata Shakur being shot while her hands were up. But we know that this is we know that Sundiata's long-term imprisonment, right, was not simply because he had done a bad act or so, right? Sundiata suffered what I call sort of a U.S. version of the Sobukwe clause, so that referencing Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, who was a political prisoner in South Africa, of whom the state said that they could endlessly incarcerate an African that they deemed a threat to the white nationalist government, right? To the white nationalist colonial order. This lets us understand that whether we got the Sobukwe clause or what we can now understand as the Sundiata clause, that the real threat to colonialism was that people like Sundiata, people like Sobukwe and them have never repudiated the anti-colonial struggle of African liberation. So it's only on their deathbed, it's only once facing grave illness that many of our political prisoners have been released from these colonial prisons, but they have done this in an attempt to really break the struggle. Right, but that's why Chairman Omar telling African People's Socialist Party understands that it's absolutely essential to hold up and to defend our political prisoners, be it Sundiata Acoli, Jalil Muntaqim, Leonard Peltier, and so many other sort of people who are endlessly incarcerated for their commitment to the anti-colonial struggle of liberation of African and all other colonized people. This is why, but we understand also that prisons are a form of counterinsurgency meant to break the will and the struggle for freedom of African people. This is it, right? So 1979 is a very important period. Oh, one thing I like to say about Sundiata himself was a person who had written for the Burning Spear. The party supports Sundiata. Chairman met with Sundiata as well as other members of the Black Liberation Army. In 1979, under the leadership of Chairman Malaysia Teller, the party formed its very first mass organization to target the question of mass imprisonment of African people, right? And we really stand as an extension of that. That mass organization was called the African National Prison Organization. We can see the work of the African National Prison Organization within the legacy of so many of the party's institutions, but as well as the reach of the Burning Spear newspaper. I'm sitting here in California where there was a person by the name of Sayika Shakur. Some people know him as Monster Cody Scott. And Sayika Shakur acknowledges in his own writings that it was the writings of the African People's Socialist Party and the Burning Spear newspaper that was a critical tool that brought him into political life after getting roped in the U.S. counter insurgency that was waged against African people. Now, the African National Prison Organization, of which also Mufudi Lake was a leader, was short-lived, but it had an immense impact really on the struggle, the anti-colonial struggle for African people. Chairman Omar Shatella talks about this in an uneasy equilibrium as well, right? There was an explicit point made on naming it the African National Prison Organization, not just prisoners organization, understanding that it's all African people who have the responsibility for struggling, for engaging in the strategic struggle against the mass imprisonment of African people. And that's really where so many of you all come in. The movement, the Burning Spear newspaper, African National Prison Organization, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and so many other of the organizations, campaigns, and struggles led by the African People's Socialist Party underscore the importance of the Burning Spear newspaper and why you should all be involved. I remember when I first bought my Burning Spear newspaper. I remember when I was first exposed to the Burning Spear newspaper before then. Engaging, even just as a donor for the Burning Spear newspaper, allows for you to be a part of this 50-year history towards African redemption. That the African People's Socialist Party is folded into the African People's Socialist Party, the 54-year history of the Burning Spear newspaper, and the 100+ year history of the African liberation struggle, originally initiated by Marcus Garvey 108 years ago. So all of that is rolled into your support for the Burning Spear newspaper, and really underscores the importance of why we're here today. So it's on that note that I'd like to just thank everybody for being here. Really encourage you all to get involved. Buy the spear, sell the spear, put the spear into the hands of an incarcerated person. And also I want to say, The more you sin, it allows for us to build the importance of the spirit internationally. I don't know if you all heard from Secretary General Louise Kinshasa, but Secretary General Louise Kinshasa came across the Spirit and Burning Spirit publications first and foremost in France. Chairman Omalaisha Taylor remembers walking into a bookstore led by an African revolutionary organization in the UK and seeing a white person holding shop in the middle of the store with the burning spirit in his hand, right? And expressing how it's the burning spirit that clearly underscored the struggle for liberation for African people. But that's your struggle. That's struggle here today. They thought that they were going to crush us, but it's important for y'all to know that I'm here in California, and surfers will tell you this. Surfers will tell you that the time in which you're going to get your best waves is when the weather is bad, right? So it's not. So it's a time for us to strike, and supporting the spirit is a part of that struggle.
Uhuru, thank you so much for that presentation, Dr. Masamela Odom. That is our resident professor in the house with, his historical context analysis. I just want to thank you for that presentation. So attendees, if you have any questions for our panelists, please make sure to type it in the chat box, because we'll have a quick, Q&A around in about 20 to 25 minutes. So if you want to go ahead and do that. But next up, we have Young Rai, who is a lyricist and hip hop artist from Philly. And the first song that you'll hear is called Texture, a song recently released in his EP, Toasty Summers. And, he has made some notes on that I'm going to read right now. So this first song, Texture, he says, it's a song of wants, thoughts, and ideas that people from my community either completely understand or don't get at all. The dangers of the city, unfortunately, only leave us with a couple options to succeed, and this song is a product of my life at 21. And within this video, there's also a second song, and the second, when he says that the second was an emotion passed down to me by one of the forefathers in rap and member of a tribe called Quest, Five Dog. It is a song made to build confidence in myself and others who listen. It's a reminder to us to keep our cool and composure in any situation. So Uhuru, and let's go ahead and play some Young Rai.
Let's see. Oh, I should what? Yeah, never felt. Yeah, never felt. Yeah, residue still on my hands. I'm gonna clean up in the mixtures, but one is to smile in the pictures. One of the youngest is vicious, as they wanna be. That's no fun to me. I wanna vibe, pass me the road, but I keep the drum on me. Play with that boy if you wanna. Play with that boy if you wanna get murdered. Don't put no violence, but I wanna work. Talk about me, I put you on the shirt, nigga. Yeah, that's what these Philly niggas be about. It don't matter if the Lord in our house continue the cycle, they airing you out, Yeah, somebody pray for me, somebody pray for me. I'm giving a bass for free, oh Lord. I'll never felt, yeah. Yeah, these niggas gon' feel me. I be talking about the real me, not a product of imagination. Some of these niggas, they silly. I be in Philly like really. I can get catchy, get chilly. I'm on the path for a milli. But some of these niggas gon' feel me. They wanted the instant way. Forget that I buy no rent today. You never took risks cause you been afraid. Now your whole life in disarray. Eat everything like I'm at a buffet. Niggas didn't know better day was a day. I used to be clean at 60 men a day. Now I get let every time that I say. These niggas gon' feel me, I be talking about the real me, I know I'm wrong, I'm guilty, yeah, but none of these niggas gon' feel me, yeah. I shoot a shot, I drill threes, I already play for the major leagues, but I can't be trusting these agents, yeah. Niggas be cool with the rapping, nothing amazing, niggas be rapping, niggas be scared to put on affection. I never look back, it's all in the bin, I'm giving a dab, I'm riding with tens, they not even black, I'm handling brand, I'm making a stack, stacking my chips, all these I'm fat, working the bricks, I'm a master, my craft, yeah. Slave with my pill on the dash, and I can't give up till I'm sure it's a bag. Then I might sit on my ass, working 7 days, feel like a rag. Every Monday, feel like a drag. All this gunplay, I can't relax. I go a cycle, I need me a tab, nigga. These niggas gon' feel me. I'm on the block and I'm filthy. I know I'm wrong, I'm guilty, but none of these niggas gon' feel me. I shoot a shot, I drill threes. I already play for the major leagues, but I can't be trusting these agents, see? I feel like I've never felt. Let's go. Smooth like butter. Yeah. Smooth like butter, baby. Yeah. Yeah. See cuts like this are right. I had to track my vibe. For anyone removed, just know the boy arrived. Slide real smooth, I'm grooving in this ride. Got your baby girl wondering if she chose right. 2 quick hands, I don't ever lose a mic. Battling myself, I can't let her win a fight. Looking in the mirror, trying to wrong for right. A nigga only trust himself when delivering that price. Niggas come to puff and won't ever share a slice. Smooth cause they designer belts about ice. Smooth only cause it deep, blinded to the eye. Y'all be blinded, these niggas smooth all about mine. Can't find the time, and it's weak lines. You niggas falling behind, I'm sliding up through her mind. My mama named me to shine, that I feel so slimy. If we pull up at the function, I'ma need more grind, please. Here every day, repositional lobby. I'm proudly, an exceptional timepiece. If the niggas want still, tell them boys come find me. Smooth like butter, smooth like butter, baby. Yeah, yeah, you see how I feel? I said, I'm just smooth like butter. Yeah, I'm too smooth like butter, baby. Yeah, yeah. This song, walking in the building, feeling like you niggas owe me some. When it come to lyricism flow, I be the only one. With my competition, they ain't tell me I was chosen, huh? I be king smooth, you my son. Pull up real smooth, looking like I'm born on skates and some. I be breaking rules, mama always gotta pray for some. Get to choose, when I do, let's get to shaking some. Let's get to shaking some, baby, get to shaking some. Smooth like we cruise, baby like my the style that I be using, so smooth, it's so smooth, smooth like we okay, baby like my grooving, the style that I be using, so smooth, it's so smooth, okay, she don't wanna slide on me now, but when I'm up, she gon' wanna be around, not smooth, yeah, not smooth, I can't, when it's up to them, but I want longevity and monetary. I'll never, yeah. I'm smooth, nigga. Smooth like butter. Yeah, yeah. But y'all niggas smooth too. Smooth like butter, nigga. We just smooth like butter. We just smooth like butter, baby. We just smooth, too smooth like butter, baby. Young Rod, thank you.
Uhuru. So, comrades, that great performance was by none other than Young Rye. So, can we please get Young Rye up in this club? How are we doing? Can you hear me okay?
What's up? I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us and, your performance.
I appreciate it.
All right. So, Young Rye, in your bio, you mentioned that, your second song was inspired by an emotion passed down to you from Five Dog, who was part of the group A Tribe Called Quest, a group that contributed a lot to hip hop, especially in the 90s. And so I wanted to ask, what other artists influence the kind of work that you do and the music that you create?
Definitely off the top, I would say current artists such as Kendrick and Cole, but I'm really inspired by anything that I feel like the artist is trying to get something off their chest, anything with feeling. I started playing drums real young, so I really listened to a lot of genres. I played to a lot of genres. But when I started writing, I started paying attention to what people have to say. And anything that I feel an artist is just speaking the truth and they're speaking from their heart, I feel influenced and inspired by it. So all music.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that, that genuine place it comes from, that letting it out in a way. So so my follow-up question, don't want to put you on the spot, but you were also featured in a documentary called What is a Black Man? And this was a film documenting, the lives and journeys of Black boys, specifically in Philly. and you're one of the 4 local artists featured. And so I wanted to ask, what that experience was like for you, and did it make you want to, continue to make music that spoke to the conditions of, Black men in Philly?
Most definitely. It inspires me every day. We're still actually in the process of filming. It won't be done until about 2024, 25. I know the vision is ever changing. It's always evolving. So we're just moving forward as time goes by. But we've been filming this year as well. I think we'll stop filming next year. But I believe it definitely inspires me and pushes me to go forward, because a lot of people encourage me more because of that. They see what I have been through. They see my story in a way. So it kind of is like a give and take. I kind of share the piece of my life, and people take from that, and they also give encouragement.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate your performance and having you on. Stick around and enjoy the rest of the show.
Definitely.
All right, comrades. So we actually got one more donation in from MQ from Gainesville for $10. I just want to appreciate that new donation. And, you guys keep it coming. We're, ever closer to our goal. So next up, we have Tylon Washington. Tylon Washington was born in Harlem, New York. He is an activist filmmaker who has worked with Milton Alamadi from Black Star News, Danny Glover, who is an actor and filmmaker, and Melvin Van Peebles, who's also an actor, composer, and director. And Tylon is also the founder and CFO of Iron Metropolis Films, LLC. His passions include education, audiovisual arts, DJing, mentoring, long walks, revolution, and running his mouth. So today we're going to, play a trailer of his upcoming film called Disappearing Voices, The Decline of Justice, and then we'll hear a little bit from him. So could we go ahead and play this trailer?
What happened was a tragedy, but it was an avoidable tragedy.
What we know of is there's 57 cases being reviewed, and we don't know all the details.
We can't have that happen if the Conviction Integrity Unit is simply back to the old ways, rubber stamping convictions.
Follow the evidence. If the evidence say he must be free, free him. Right. And that's all we ask.
The witness that if he didn't testify against me, that when I get out of prison, that I would kill him and his family.
The head of the unit has himself been involved in wrongful convictions, engaging in prosecutorial misconduct, withholding evidence of innocence.
For every wrongful conviction, there's a guilty person walking around free. There's an innocent person whose life has been destroyed.
There is a clear pattern of blatant violations. Evidence, clear-cut evidence of innocence that's being suppressed, misrepresented, destroyed.
Are there rules when it comes to homicides? No, there are none. I will do whatever I have to do, whatever I have to do.
There's a justice system that has lost some of its legitimacy.
That's ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous.
Well, I was wrongfully convicted and served 27 years in prison for a crime I did not commit.
My name is Terrence Rice. I'm an innocent man. I've been incarcerated for over 30 years for crimes that I didn't commit. And they're all crying. Let them go, y'all.
When the shackled Vincent Simmons arrived at the Avoyelles Parish Courthouse in a prison van, he was carrying a Bible.
None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. One of us are chained. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. None None of us are free. One of us is chained. None of us are free.
Uhuru Tylon, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for showing the trailer. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to your people. And I want to thank Sheila, too, for setting this up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. We can hear you. You can go ahead. You talk.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the statistics related to wrongful convictions are profoundly disturbing and deeply rooted in systemic racism. Sounds like we can have somewhat of an elevated conversation. I think people get the fact that, our churches are misleading the people. The educational system is garbage. You can't trust the police. This system in its entirety was not designed to empower the people. But I think kidnapping our revolutionaries before they are even politically oriented is something we need to take very, very close attention to. Statistics can only estimate, and I would probably say that the statistics are modest, but they say 6 to 11% of people incarcerated in U.S. prisons are actually and factually innocent. And the overwhelming majority of those folks look like who? Look like us, right? So, when you think about that, that's 1 in about 14, or you count 14 people, in the street. That one, that 14th person could be incarcerated and like I said, factually innocent. And it's because Black people are perceived in large part as innately criminal, unworthy of justice, and guilty until proven innocent. And so, we really need to pay very close attention to this, as opposed to the kinds of stories that they're telling us to pay attention to. When you have 1 in 14, that is a crisis, a particular crisis in our community. When you pluck Black and brown folks out of the community, you deprive them of, all of their, limited whatever rights that they do have. And you really, I think, do serious harm, irreparable harm to our entire community. And that's what the film focuses on, community impact. There's one particular case study that we look into on this film of a young gentleman named Teron Cortez Fisher. You might want to Google him and look up this case. This is a man who's currently been sentenced to prison without any possibility of parole, when there is no forensic evidence. There is nothing tying him at all to the crime, but the testimony of the person who actually committed the crime. I know that sounds outrageous and unbelievable, but that is the facts. So, we're going to be looking into that. We have to keep the pressure on. And I think now is the time to seize the hearts and minds of our people. I think the people are ready. At one end of the spectrum, you have folks who are living their best lives, record number of millionaires. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have record numbers of people who are suffering abject, some of the worst economic situations, food insecurities, living situations are unstable, and they're about to get worse. So, in that vacuum, what's going to be lost in that vacuum, I think, is this incredible opportunity for us to be able to capture the hearts and minds through media. You've heard the statement, pictures worth 1,000 words, right? Everybody's heard that. So can you imagine moving pictures? What is that worth? Music. And by the way, the talent that I heard was just incredible tonight. I mean, I'm inspired and I've been invigorated by some of the incredible talent. And it frustrates me because I want to see more and hear more, of this kind of talent. And shout out to all the folks who did all the virtual crate digging to find some of this incredible talent that, we heard tonight. We have to refocus and recalibrate and really think about our priorities. and our priorities is our kith and kin. And when you have a certain group of people who can continue slavery just under a new name and can randomly drive down the street and pick up people, accuse them of crimes, and they languish in these prisons. Like I said, if you just saw in the trailer, Vincent Simmons for over 44 years and absolutely innocent. How do you repair that? How do you begin to repair that? So my film is called Disappearing Freedom, The Decline of Justice. We're looking for a release in October of this year. We're asking for the community to come out and support this film and films like this, and just for folks to take a more warrior-like position when it comes to media, when it comes to the arts, to be uncompromising and stop trying to appeal to people who have, no morals or no conscience, and just start to appeal to the people who are ready and ripe for revolution and for change, because that's the only way that this system is really going to change. You can't think of just a policy or a rule or law. It just doesn't work. I call it the criminal justice system, because they have suits and ties on and they pretend to be important and smug and knowing things that are true and right. And these people are just, this one judge, her name is F.K. Baum, on the case of Teron Cortez Fisher. Please look into this case and you will find out that it's just outrageous. And Teron could be your uncle, your nephew, your cousin. It's a real horror show when I think about it. Matter of fact, that's why we're going to release this film in and around Halloween, because it really is just a really sad situation, a horrible situation. So please support the film, support all Black media, support Burning Spear, because Burning Spear is going to definitely set the world ablaze.
Uhuru, thank you so much for your rundown, and I'm really excited for your film coming out soon. When did you say it was going to come out again? If you know.
The end of October, around Halloween.
Oh, right. Scary movie. Got it. Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, Tylon. And so like I said, if anyone has questions, please type it in the chat. Our chat moderators will work to get it to us. And, our panelists are still on, so they will be here to answer any of your questions. So you can go ahead and do that. Thank you so much, Tylon.
Thank you for having me. Mm-hmm.
All right, comrades. So up next, we got Comrade Honey Blue. Honey Blue is a creative artist, student, and organizer from Los Angeles, California. She's been dabbling in creative arts since the day she was born. Art for her has always been a source of self-expression as well as a source of healing. She chooses to make art that not only makes you feel good, but also makes you think and raises your level of consciousness. She also dabbles in poetry, spoken word, singing, songwriting, dancing, and acting, like everything. She's also extremely passionate about the art of learning and teaching the history of her people, African people, Black people. She's also an Africana Studies major at Cal State Long Beach. She was also former vice president of the Black Student Union at El Camino Community College. She's also a community organizer with New Era Long Beach. And not to mention, she's also a valued staff member of the Burning Spear newspaper. So let's go ahead and play some Honey Blue, please. Uhuru.
Uhuru family, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. My name is Honey Blue, and today y'all rocking with the Free 'em All virtual concert in celebration of Black August. Today we remember and we celebrate and we commemorate our mighty warriors, freedom fighters, and political prisoners who fought and risked their lives in order for us to be here today. So I'm going to start off with just acknowledging Sister Asada Shakur, who was a big part of my journey and helped me to get in my zone. And with that being said, I'm going to start off with this first song called Zone. Zone, I'm in my zone. Get in your zone. Let's make a toast to all my folks who got their own, so that we can get ours. I am in my zone. I am in my zone. Go ahead and snap. And maybe do a little clap like. Look, started off long ago, way back up in the hood. Mama and my granny looking for a way to get a book, get a ticket out of poverty, cause seem to make it down. Every single day in struggle like you living in a drought. Working hard from the time that you punch into the clock. Keep the hustle going cause the grinding never stops. Probably the reason why I'm so focused on my craft. All the women in my family may do what they had, but there's one thing that is for I got that passion, filled by my purpose. Everything I do is with intention. Walking my faith is my financial pension. If you wanna go ahead, we can get live from the sundown all the way to sunrise. Yes, honey blue, and you know I got that flow. Worldwide legend, and you know I'm in my zone. Woo! Zone, get in your zone. Let's make a toast to all my folks who got their 1/16/1998. Mama sacrificed her womb as she opened up the gates, bringing me to life in this cool and crazy world. Had to say an open prayer for the little boys and girls, African to be exact, cause we've been under attack. Imagine being born with nothing but a target on your back. Thankful for my pops cause he taught me how to stand up against the system strictly with the power of the pen. Now I'm pouring it into these verses. Hypnotic rhythm is healing the curses, passing it down. Gotta keep my tradition from Aunt Lucille, Cat Eyes, and Al Wilson. Music's in my blood, no I cannot let it go. Gotta stay committed cause it's written in my soul. No, I got that fire, you can hear it in my flow. Word to the mother, gotta stay up in my zone. Yeah. Ooh, ooh, better stay by my lane and get your own. And I ain't worried about shorty cause I'm grown. Thank y'all for that first one. Yes, indeed. So thank y'all for joining the virtual concert. You know, it's so interesting being online. Real quick before I start this next song, I just want to say that a couple of days ago we lost one of our very, very precious soldiers and freedom fighters, Albert Woodfox, who was a part of the Angola 3 that were incarcerated and fought behind prison walls and organized behind prison walls to make sure that our people got the proper education, that they got their history while they were incarcerated. And Albert Woodfox was one of the longest held political prisoners in solitary confinement. He wrote a book called Solitary that I read a couple of years ago that really changed my life and perspective. So ashe to our dear freedom fighter. And for this song, I want us to think about John Africa. Long live John Africa as well, who really made sure that the community in Philadelphia was not only organized and equipped to fight against racism, oppression, and colonialism, but also that they were healthy, right? And that they cured their addictions. And John Africa was known for healing a lot of people's addictions. So this song is about addiction. So long live John Africa. You ever had a bad habit that you couldn't shake? Like every time you try to change, it just won't go away. Got you twisted, now you sitting with a poker face, feeling like you'll never supersede out of your old ways. You go seek therapy, but feel like it's not helping out. So you just keep doing your thing and try to figure out how you gonna come out as a winner in the end, when everything inside your being got you feeling for a hit of that drug, even though you know it's toxic. Been a couple times when the thought just made me nauseous. Every single day I bow my head up to the sky, right before I bow it down and thank the Lord I'm still alive. Looking for a way so that I can end this night. One hand in the sky, other hand up on the rifle, playing for a day when I can finally stay afloat. I know you never asked, I just thought that you should know. No, look, sometimes you don't know what's in store. It may seem like a show. At least now you know, got a lot up on my mind, now I feel it in my spirit. Time to get this off my chest, so best believe that you gon' hear it when I open up my mouth. Know that there's no pun intended. Ain't nothing funny about the struggle when you working on your healing. Been fighting demons since way before my adolescence, planning for the days that would come after my conception. Mama always told me go and say what's on your heart, cause if you leave an open wound it'll turn into a scar. I done got a couple bruises, but that's not gonna weigh me down. Feel flat up on my face and still manage to keep a smile. People always talking about how I'm such a ray of light, but there been times when I contemplated taking my own life. Damn, what a time, what a scary place. Never thought I'd be the one that decided my own fate. Had to put the light down cause I had to let it go. I know you never asked, I just thought that you should know. Look, sometimes you don't know what's in store. It may seem like a show. At least now you know, where you going? Tell me where you headed. You ain't gotta be alone, all that other shit is deaded. I know you said you focused and you know just where your head is, but if you get to spiraling, don't be afraid to message. I done tried to let it go and then I went back again. Friends and family looking at me like I'm the deadliest sin, but I knew that I could do it, I just needed some help. Had to let go of my pride and put it up on the shelf. Yes, a good heart but a bad case. A rock stuck in a hard place. Had to understand my journey's not a race, it's a marathon. So no more sprinting on your path, you gotta chase. But what's a marathon if no one's in the crowd? Forever grateful for the ones that helped me through my trials. No, I'm not perfect, but I'm getting pretty close. I know you never asked, I just thought that you should. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you guys enjoyed the virtual concert. And let's give it up for the other performers. Free 'em all, Uhuru. I'll see you guys later.
Whoo! So that was Honey Blue. Honey Blue, you in the house?
Yes, hi.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. You know, we're at two places at once. It's crazy how you can be in your room and at work at the same time, but we are here, okay?
Love it. Thank you so much for that beautiful performance. I'm going to speak on behalf of everyone here and say that was so beautiful. I love how you vocalize, and you also sing and politically educated at the same time. You just jack of all trades, for real. So just appreciate you.
I do a lot, you know what I mean, and try my hardest to do what I can while I'm here on this earth. So I appreciate that, Soliana.
Love that. Thank you. Okay, so while we have you, I just want to, pick your brain a little. Before you started singing, you talked about how, Assata Shakur, also who was formerly a political prisoner and is now, in exile in Cuba, not able to come back, on threat of, imprisonment. You talk about how she was really critical to your political education. And then you also, talk about, our fallen heroes like Alfred Wilcox and then, John Africa. And, I just want to, get your thoughts and feelings about, how these people were, important to your political education and how they, impact the music that you make.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to Asada Shakur, I read her autobiography a couple of years ago. And during that time, I was already reading a lot of different like history books on like African history and things like that. But I never had read a personal narrative by somebody that was in the struggle. So reading that really changed my perspective like, as a woman in this movement, being okay, like what is my role, and just the different egregious things that happen to our people, and like especially women behind bars as well. Like reading her story and understanding what women go through behind the bars, and just anybody in general is terrible. Like they took her baby from her. She had to escape several times. They denied her medicine. So reading that really transformed the way I made sure I use like how I use the music that I make. I think in general, as a person, I've always been an artist that is a lyricist. So I am very attentive to what I'm writing and like why I'm writing it. But I think it's important that if I have the knowledge from what I learned from Ashada Shakur, or what I'm learning in the books I'm reading in school, or just on my own time, how can I put that into the music as well? And so there are other songs I created that I didn't perform today that are that have some like political context to it. But I'm also, you know, a person, so I write about a variety of different topics, you know, but definitely for that. And, you know, my father was incarcerated at one point in my life. So I think that also was a big part of me wanting to learn more about the system, because he was incarcerated for 2 years for a very, very petty crime. And so, you know, I think all of those things together ignited me to make sure that I'm making music with a purpose and with a message behind it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, you are practicing what you preach and doing what you talk about. So I just, want to appreciate you for coming on, sharing your thoughts and performing for us. Thank you so much, Comrade Honey Blue. Everyone tap in with her, honeyblue.com, right?
Yes, honeyblue.com. I'll put the link in the chat if anybody wants to, check it out. But yes, just wanted to say thank you again for everybody tapping into this whole entire event. It's been amazing so far. And Uhuru, everybody, and I'm excited to see the rest. Yes.
Uhuru, thank you. And speaking of, I'm just gonna update us on the fundraising. So we got a couple that came in actually. So we got Allison from Philadelphia who donated $50 and said, I want to sponsor prison subscription so the African Revolution can break down the walls and liberate African people. Reparations now. We also have another donation from Kitty, who is in St. Louis, who donated another $50, saying, salute the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Shatel in the Burning Spear newspaper, solidarity with the African nation leading the movement to tear down the walls of the colonial prisons of Huru. We got another donation from Renee, who's also in Philadelphia, donated $20. We got me, donated $50. I'm gonna ask you to donate, I'm gonna donate. So I'm not just gonna ask and not donate myself. So yeah. And we got Penny from St. Louis who donated $25. Thank you. We have Paul from Frederick, Maryland, who donated $25 and said, dedicated to the memory of that great lion of social justice, Glenn Ford. It was because of him that I learned about Chairman Omali and the APSP/Uhuru movement, Uhuru. And then we got another donation from Carolyn Lake, who was a widow of Mfundi Lake, who, our prisoner subscription program is named after. She's in Birmingham, Alabama, and she donated $100 in honor of Richard Mfundi Lake. That's not beautiful. I don't know what it is. So right now, comrades, we have $855 worth in donations, and we have 1,145 to go, like I said, which is very doable. And, as we continue to our last performer, I'm just gonna, have everyone, think about donating and, becoming a sustainer, and just keep that in your mind while you listen to the music. So last but not definitely, last but not the least, we have Comrade Jermaine Simpson, professionally known as Complex, who's on his second stint as a hip-hop artist. He was highly touted as a skilled lyricist, rapper in the San Diego, California hip-hop scene during the early 2000s. Complex earned his moniker by delivering clever wordplay and intricate rhyme schemes. He released 2 albums called West Coast MCs in 2004 and State of Mind in 2005, before ending his recording career in 2006. And fast forward to 2020, a global pandemic, national protests, and time at home inspired a new passion for music. So in January 2021, Complex released A Beautiful Mess and followed this up with Wrath and Roses in January 2022. Complex is also a mental health therapist, professor, and father of 2. So Uhuru, let's go ahead and play some Complex. Uhuru.
What's up, y'all? Rocking with Complex. This is not the BET cipher. I am the cipher. This is for the Burning Spirit, Black Power Radio, and I'm gonna do some MC shit. I'm gonna kill some MCs, but I'm gonna also give you some knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna kick some shit to you. Check me out. Look, I ain't here for the accolades, I came to murder you. Mercenary coming after rappers like Curtis do. Massacre your whole cipher, maybe I just heard a few. Wanna end a rapper's career? I can service you. Show me a list of names, preferably your top 50. They gon' drop quickly before the cops get me. Now you can slide me that duffel bag with hundreds in it. Melodic murder was committed, I'm the one that did it. Now the housekeeping's done and the trash is out. I got more important that I can spaz about, like health disparities, poverty, inequality, coronavirus, trying to survive in this economy. We clash in the streets and we fight politically, but the real pandemic, that's white supremacy. The cops ain't nothing but thugs and henchmen. The courts just sanctioned our public lynchings. Defund the police, y'all don't want to discuss this. No matter who the president, we still want justice, and that's still the goal. The facts should be told, make America great by giving back what you stole. And back to the massacre, lyrically, I'm a sniper. Want to see a dead body? Just step into the cipher, this is murder for hire. Niggas said you was fired. You fell for the bait and got fed to a tiger. The pen is my sword and I ain't letting you live. You get written off the show like the first time bid. I catch a body, get paid. I'm a killer by trade. Death stroke with the blade. Everybody gets slayed.
I give the flesh of my flesh, the best, nothing less. I give my kids the last breath left in my chest. Yeah, so hard for success, bring them checks to the nest. Stressed but still blessed, I give love while I rest. Every day another test, working hard to keep my home intact. Time flies, but you can't get the moments back. I'm staring at your face and seeing my reflection. Hope be guidance in my presence, you in the right direction. But every parent make mistakes, I'm still learning. Evolving as a man and keeping the wheels turning. Moving my footprint so I can make a better world. Creating a path from my little man and baby girl. Defying lies and tips, and I can run down the list. How we dead be dead to black fathers don't exist. Let them say what they say, I'ma show up anyway. And at the end of the day, all that chatter don't even matter. Cause yeah, blood is thick to death. Blood is thick to death. Yeah, blood is thick to death. Blood is thick to death. Yeah, blood is thick to death. Yeah, blood is thick to death. Come on, Plex. Ain't no bond like brothers, that's a different connection. Do we got each other's back? It ain't even a question. Cause we share the same struggle, share talent and bump bed. We share the mass workers when we fall, we bump in. The worst come to worst, my brody coming first. The one eat, real eat, that's how the bag gets dispersed. All we gotta see each other, we don't come from trust funds. And trust that I'm coming through to bless my loved ones. You do it for the gram, I do it for the fam. The ones who got my back if I'm ever in the jam. And that's money in the bank when you invest in love. But all family don't love it, it's because y'all blood. Some family cut you deep to pour salt in the rules. Them the ones you gotta feed with a rare wooden spoon. Some bars get broken, but we try to repair them. And if it comes down to fighting, you ain't getting the fair.
From the page to the mic, my word is my life. We can laugh, cuss, and cry in the same breath. Some people get high till there's no more pain left. Alcohol, opioids, crack, cocaine, meth. They lying to the kids cause it's hard to explain death. In childhood I learned to be cynical, keep quiet and listen. Trust my intuition and question people's intentions. Sniff out frogs, spot the snakes in the lawn. You learn a lot from dope fiends, hustlers, and cons. But I got so much love that my cup's never empty. My spirit's unbreakable, the ancestors lift me and keep me on the right path to doing my best. But everybody falls short, we all a beautiful mess. My view of success, peace of mind, family, and freedom. My big bro stays solid, always there when I need him. Much love to all the real ones who stood in the pocket with me. Life is good in the hood, still rocking with me. My story, my journey, my plight. Give my heart to the world when I write. My word is my life. It's the love, it's the heart, it's the pain and the fight. From the page to the mic, my word is my life. My story, my journey, my plight. Give my heart to the world when I write. My word is my life. It's the love, it's the heart, it's the pain and the fight. From the page to the mic, my word is my life. Here we go. I'm just, I'm gonna drum on this. Pain is so a leg that travels like a bad road. Life's a tragic comedy with gallows humor. Pathetic laughter replace tears. I write like Shakespeare. My pen bleeding out sheet, I spit it for bad sheer. Cut down the trapped off the rocks that every hood is full of Trayvons, Emmons, and Osmonds. Y'all's fear cost tears. Black men live dark years. Death coming dreams, that's the truth like Paul Pierce. Grief and depression and express it with aggression like a restless adolescent with his manhood in question. Dangerous when they once in childhood's a luxury. Sharp minds get medicated and placed in the custody. Wives and baby mamas get birthed in double bottles. They don't understand the promise and potential that's upon us. Them dudes be confused and dudes with paying dues. They find purpose being cursed. God moves and power moves. Profits feed the economy like slavery for the colonies. Age-old dichotomy. Privilege versus poverty. But I would laugh and keep my sanity. Fight cause that's the vanity. Hustle to feed my family. Let's see what I got for you. My language is anguish, the pain is in my passion. Poetry paints the pictures in my brain. Can you imagine? Inherited narratives, ancestors will carry us. Systematic barriers, traumas vicarious. The dramas in our areas, mamas gotta bury us. Schools ain't preparing us. Teachers all scared of us. Suspend me, expel me, fail me, then jail me. So fuck that American dream you tried to sell me. Those promises are hollow, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I drink it for the bottle, then I chase it with bravado. Trying to save face so I can face tomorrow. It's a cold ass world, ain't no place for sorrow. I was told at an early age, fuck your villains. Then they told me it's a white man's world and we the villains. Reaching for the sky, running in the glass ceilings. Dealing with mass killers, thinking we past killings. White supremacy is more than hoods and nooses. It's the ones who make excuses for police that's ruthless. Education, legislation, loaded language and code words that put you in a box to rock like Joe Goldberg. Wake up from the struggle and still they got us under. They got us out here outgunned and outnumbered. Let's educate, organize, invest in our community, protect our tribe, because we ain't shit without unity. Translated street violence and made it a sweet science. A spiritual alliance when art meets defiance. Paint a picture with a scripture, fighting demons for stanzas. Like to live a hard blow, spit my blood on the canvas. Walk around with these battle scars under the bandage. They don't recognize the pain cause they don't understand us. I can down live stream while they holding their cameras. Let a brother take a knee, they be going bananas. We get treated like strangers in the house we built. What was stolen from us can't be reconciled with guilt. Sleeping in the same bed where all the blood got spilled. And the hatred is woven into the fabric of the quilt. Made in America, judged by your race, not character. Every hurdle we get over, they creating a barrier. Took an underground path, we escaped from the area. Facing death, but enslavement is a place much scarier. Tried to work our way out, but it's deep in the classism. Playing roles we've been given, we live in the caste system. Learn to stick to the script and get whipped and lynched. It's foul shit is so entrenched you can't cover the stench. We all actors in the same old race-based production, where the lines never change and the machine still functions. And truth is inconvenient to the dominant cast, but acknowledge the past and know it can't possibly last.
Oh, Uhuru. So that was complex. Y'all see why they call him a rapper. He's the real deal. Uhuru complex. How's it hanging?
Uhuru, how y'all doing?
We are good. Thank you so much for that soulful performance and video compilation. While we have you here, I just want you to talk briefly about, like your musical career and, maybe touch on, the importance of, culture overall, in resistance and, the Black liberation movement, if you can.
Yes, indeed. Well, as far as, sorry, could you repeat the first part of your question?
Yeah, definitely. So I just want you to talk briefly about, your musical career, what that was like, your biography basically, and then, touch on, the importance of, culture, like music, the kind of music that you do, the kind of music like Honey Blue does, and, just how that relates to, the overall resistance of, the Black liberation movement.
Yeah, well, I started just a adolescent, got bit by the hip hop. I was always the artist, drawing, doing something creative, but I got bit by the hip hop bug, late 80s, listening to, the Rakims, the Ice-Ts, NWAs, all that stuff. Big Daddy Kane. And just being an artist, I just wanted to emulate just the art that I admired so much, just the power of being able to communicate and incite strong emotions in people, like the artists who I looked up to did, how they made me feel, their words, and then the skill part of it, like what they could do with words. And being an artist, I wanted to do that. So I started out just emulating my favorite rappers, and then to the point to where, I started spitting it to some of my homies, and they were like, oh, okay, you're pretty dope. And so that put a battery in my back right there. And ultimately it was about just wanting to be good at something, whether it's sports or gang banging or whatever. It's like I wanted that pat on the back for something. And so once I heard, okay, that's dope, I just took that and ran with it as my thing. And, that was my first love. And that was the only thing, in my young life that I actually thought I was going to make it. I didn't see myself making it in anything else, like being highly successful, but that was one where I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the next Ice Cube. Like I can do this. And so I just, I pursued it, even through college, through, finding my career in mental health and stuff. I, that was still my first love. And, I was putting out underground albums, regional albums, and got a little buzz, got a little buzz going, Southern California. And so, I'm happy with it. I'm satisfied. I didn't make it as far as I wanted to, but I'm satisfied with what I did, and everything that I got from it as far as relationships and experience. And, after I went to grad school, got a master's degree in counseling, and I sort of stopped, just, just kind of grew out of love with it, just the grind of it, trying to make it and being independent, doing everything myself, basically, and got into my career as a therapist, and got married, started having kids, and just life kind of just took over, and just kind of fell out of love for it. And then, like I said in my bio, 2019, 2020, I started getting inspired again, just hearing. I'll tell you what, the main thing that inspired me is that Black Thought freestyle that he did in 2018 on Funkmaster Flex, where he was freestyling like 10 minutes. It was like, when I hear dope rappers, it make me want to rap. And so I started back just not trying to reach a certain audience, but just for the art of it, just a need to express myself. Just wanting to flex that muscle and use that, that form of creativity. As far as the second part of your question, I was always the type of person who was just, interested in just the plight of our people, since, 12, 13, when I read Autobiography of Malcolm X. The music I was listening to, hip hop, what the Ice Cubes, the Chuck D's, Rakim, Poor Righteous Teachers, all the rappers from the 5% Nation, was just all of those messages I was just really feeling and relating to, and seeing with my own eyes, experiences like, living in a dope house and stuff like that, and seeing, how the police, pretty much batter ram your door down, and, actually seeing that as a kid. I was woke before it was called woke, just by seeing it and knowing that, okay, I'm Black in this world. And I feel like our music in general from Black people always has a socio-political undertone, whether it's intentional or not. We've always, sang and just made music to express ourselves, to survive, to get by, and also to inform, and to motivate and inspire our people. And so while I'm, I was a battle rapper, I was always, quote unquote conscious rapper. But I also like to just rap about life and just whatever I'm feeling.
All right. Uhuru, thank you so much again, Complex, for your video submission and for your comments and your remarks. All right, comrades, that brings us to the end of our program. And before I close this out, I just want to give an update on our fundraising. So we got 3 more of donations. We have Sayero and Battle Creek who pledged to donate $25, and we got Sheila in Germany. Girl, I know it's really late right there right now, but she donated $25. And we got Joseph from Tucker, Georgia, who donated $25 and said the music has been really great, Uhuru. So, comrades, that brings us to a total of $930. And 1,070 to go, but I know we'll definitely reach that before the year is out, and maybe even before the month is out. So I just want to go ahead and thank every single person who has made this dynamic event possible. I'm talking about all the artists, the panelists, and of course, you, our viewers and donators, who have stayed through our entire program and, contributed what they can to keep the spirit burning. I just want to thank everyone on the spirit team. I want to thank Director Rakili. I want to thank Lisa, Sandy. I want to thank, Bing, and just everybody who I have not mentioned, for, coming together and making this event what it is. And once again, I am Soliana Vaquel saying good night, free 'em all, Vanguard up, and Uhuru.